Welcome to Reds Access, your weekly Cincinnati Reds podcast throughout the entire 2025 season, covering Reds news, games, and more. Follow us across most platforms at Reds Access, Instagram Reds _access, and lastly on TikTok at Reds Access Official. We're your hosts, Collin and Kyler Osterberger, lifelong Reds fans who love to talk ball and no longer have blank rooms behind us. As you can see, Kyler and I both are at lovely, sunny, beautiful, great American ballpark. I don't know where all the fans are at. We're in line for opening day already. But thanks for joining us, guys. Continue our tour today around the 2025 Reds projected opening day roster. Focusing today on the infield side of the position group, our first episode dealing with any sort of position player. And barreling towards opening day, I believe today we're 24 days away from opening day. Kyler, tell me about your day, your week, and how excited you are for opening day baseball here.
Yeah. I've had a busy week. Work's been crazy. Kids were sick over the weekend. So wild week. But yeah, I'm excited for opening day, man. The Reds are looking good. Cruz is looking great. I know we're going to get into that later, but just a lot of promise this year. I'm really excited. What are you thinking? How are you feeling about opening day?
I'm feeling real good. I booked my hotel, booked my tickets. My buddies and I are all ready to go. I took advantage of those miles on that Delta card, got the $100 for each stay for a year or whatever. So that paid my part of the hotel fee. So I'm really excited, man. We got our hotel booked. Got the tickets. No, man. Perks of being a card holder. But no, it was great, man. I booked everything ready to go. My buddy and I go every year for opening day. It's our third year doing it, I think. But I've gone, 4 years in a row. It's definitely a tradition for me, and I really love doing it. One of the most favorite things I do. And I gotta be honest.
I think you're gonna report from it as well, aren't you? You're gonna get some videos and report.
Live stream it. I don't know how long. Now listen, guys. My buddy and I do a drink counter opening day, so I'll live vlog it, or I will vlog it, but I will make no promises.
We won't be Reds official anymore. We'll just be the Reds.
Yeah, I don't know about Reds Access. It'll be like Reds Access at night or something. We're gonna have to do, but listen, we're through the second week of spring training now. We're starting to see quite a few trends take place in regards to spring training stats. One of the ones that, if you're watching this, you're probably aware of is Elly Cruz might just hit 100 home runs this year. Cruz is rocking an OPS over 2.0. This comes after he just had a hit in the top of the first in the game we're watching today. He walked twice yesterday, hit another double, and it currently has a 538 average. Guys like Encarnacion Strand hit a ball 114 miles an hour yesterday. Best batted ball of his career, exit velo wise. And good to see, too, Matt McLain hitting over 400 in the spring. Guy that, they thought might be some rust, but definitely not. He looks real good. So I think, Kyler, there's a lot to get excited about. But I don't think there's anything more to get excited about than sort of the prodigal son of the Cincinnati Reds, Elly Cruz. So let's kind of address that elephant, or if you watched the game yesterday, I think Batman in the room right away. He's definitely the stud of the infield. He might just be De La Cruzing to an MVP this year. And while he's played a total of 5 games this spring, he's walked more than he struck out. He's homered from both sides of the plate, and he has looked absolutely locked in on the field. I've got to ask you straight up, Kyler. De La Cruz at 2,000 for MVP. Is DraftKings strong, weak? What does that look like? And FanDuel has Elly 8th in odds. Has Elly behind guys like Soto, Tatis, Ohtani, Harper, Kyle Tucker, and Francisco Lindor. I won't speak to specifics, but I'll be straightforward. I think I see him having a better season than at least 6 of those guys on that list. And I think plus 2,000 a little disrespectful. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. I think we discussed a couple weeks ago that we think De La Cruz is a top 5 MVP candidate this year. He's already proven it in spring training. I know that I was kind of critical about his batting stance and his strikeout percentage. I know it's early days, but it looks like he's corrected that. He's doing well seeing the ball, crushing the ball as well. Getting on base, just doing an incredible job in spring training. I think he has all the tools to be an MVP this season. I know that we kind of talked about him being young, trying to get some experience and everything like that. I think that may be the only thing that kind of holds him back is just some of those errors he's made in the field. Just kind of developing. He's young, so he's exciting to watch. I think this is a very, very good chance that this season he could be an MVP candidate.
I think I heard Jeff Brantley put it really well, the Cowboy, yesterday in the podcast. Guys like De La Cruz and Strand grow up hitting the ball outside the plate. It's not moving much over the center field fence. What he was talking about was they're so strong and lengthy and they can hit that pitch. Then you get to the MLB, you've never developed an outside part to your strike zone because you never had to. And it's all about adjustments, and Elly is making the adjustment. We talked last week about what Elly would be capable of this year, how the sky was the limit. One thing we didn't touch on was how he adjusts his approach to the plate. We talked about it, how that's something that's really necessary for him to take the next step just a second ago. Last year, Elly had a 10% walk rate, or just under, and just under a 32% K rate. Both of those were up nearly 2% from the year before. If De La Cruz maintains a 12% walk rate and a K rate sub 30, which are both, kind of what you're looking at for success in the league, over 11 walk rate and under 30 K rate, would you say there's any holes in his game left?
Yeah, well, let's do two things. So one, I know we kind of talked about the strikeout rate, and that was a really big issue. Obviously, got to get that down. I think he's doing well with that so far in spring training. I know that I've kind of already said that, but I'm hoping that he can keep it below 30, like we said. Other than that, I think the biggest hole in his game right now is just the simple errors he makes in the infield. Not saying he's not a bad fielder, but there's sometimes he makes those small mistakes that they do add up. I know last year, I think he had the fastest or hardest thrown ball in the infield, but they didn't really count it because it was an error. So if he can kind of just get the fielding under control a little bit, not make so many of those errors and mistakes, the sky's limit, like you said, Collin.
Was it not like 114 or something? It was some crazy velocity. Like
I think it was 114, but it didn't get it to first base, so it was an error.
Jesus, man. I mean, wow.
Cannon.
I totally agree, though. I think the mental errors are the only hole of his game. I think back to that one play Elly had last year where he was shuffling. I don't know who was coming to second base, but he fielded that ground ball, fielder's choice, and he sat there and waited for him at second. And then the guy wasn't messing around and got on the bag, and I think they called him out, but it went to review and it got upheld. But that should have
been it's just a simple mistake that just can't happen.
And he was trying to be cute or funny or whatever it was. And I get trying to have fun, but there's a point when you got to step up. And
right. I think that's the younger part of him too, just being immature and you're on the field with your boys, you know what I mean? We did it in high school, but you're in the MLB now, you can't do stuff like that. It's a job.
I think the manager helps a lot. I think Tito Francona would not let that fly. And judging by his interviews so far, I think he's made that pretty known. I guess if I had to narrow it down to one thing, Kyler, I would say that it's not even just mental errors, it's concentration, which you're right, is probably just an age thing. It's hard for me to believe that Elly De La Cruz is 4 years younger than me. The guys, I think on TV they have 10 years. I really don't feel like he looks like he's younger than me, but he definitely is. With that in mind then, Kyler, I guess if he's going to go for an MVP and he's going to make these changes to his game, what kind of statistics as Elly De La Cruz steps up to bat do you see him putting up this year? And let's go with a slash line, home runs, RBIs, stolen bases, that kind of stuff, and let's go from there.
Yeah, so for Elly this year, stat lines I have him at is 258 for average, OBP of 324, and then slugging 489. I do have him at 30 home runs. I know we did over and under, I think 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. I had him over 30 then. I'm having him 30 now. And then I got him with 94 RBIs. I think he's going to hit 70 stolen bases. I was thinking 75, but I feel like I don't want to just push it too much, push the envelope too far. It'll rip. So I'm going to go 70 stolen bases. I think he's going to be around 200 strikeouts. Obviously, I hope it's below that, but I think safely bet around 200 to 210 in that range. What are your stat lines for him?
Well, he just struck out there, but you would
top of
Elly
third.
Increasing OPS by 100 points from 23 to 24. If he's going to win the MVP, and I think he's got a good chance to do it, let's do it again. Let's go full. excuse my language to the younger listeners listening. Let's go full balls to the wall on this one. I see Elly going I wasn't as precise as you on these, but I think Elly goes 270, 360, 550. That make him one of the best hitters in the league. It'd give him, I believe, the 6th highest slugging percentage in baseball, right behind guys like Bobby Witt and Juan Soto. A lot of that comes from doubles and triples with Elly, but assuming he's going to be in the 2-hole, I don't expect a lot of RBIs, which makes it hard. But give me I was under, I think, 30 home runs when we talked about it last week. I changed my mind. I've been watching him play in the spring. That ball's
He looks
jumping.
good.
Give me 32 home runs. Give me 85 RBIs. Give me under 200 strikeouts. Screw it, man. Give me 80 stolen bases. Let's send it. Give me 80. Give me 80. Give me Ricky Henderson 2.0.
I think if he doesn't, we should make this fun. I think of all our subscribers, if he is under 80 stolen bases, we'll send him $10. If he's over 80, hey, let's spice it up. Let's spice it up. I'll fund it. $10. If he's under 80, I will pick a subscriber of ours and I'll send them $10. If he's under 80 stolen bases.
We'll do $50 in a raffle if he's under 80. I don't care to do that. I thought you meant every single person $10.
Oh, no, yeah.
Whoa.
Hopefully we have that many people. No, yeah, I was gonna just do $10.
No, that's fair. That's totally fair. We will. I'll do one better than that, Kyler. We'll do one better than that. We'll get you a. We'll do a Reds hat. We'll do a Reds hat to the subscriber of a giveaway if Elly to the Cruz has over 80 stolen bases. You want to do over or under?
It's a good one.
Let's go over. If it's over 80 stolen bases, we'll give away a Reds official.
Let's lower it. Let's do 75. If it's over 75, we'll do a Reds hat. I'll throw in a Skyline gift card.
Okay. Skyline $20 gift card, Reds hat, over 75 stolen bases.
He's noting it down. This is official, guys. If Elly has over 75 stolen bases, we'll pick one subscriber. You will get a Reds hat, and then a Skyline gift card.
This is obviously off the deck too, guys. This was not planned in the. I like it.
Feeling spicy.
Like so our second and main segment here today, man, it is a little bit shorter. This main segment today, so that's why we spend a little more time talking about Elly here, guys. I just called this one the rest of the infield. But man, let's talk about Matt McLain. He's not the rest of the infield.
Elly.
Yeah, he's a solid player too. And Elly referred to Matt McLain as the Robin to his Batman yesterday on the podcast. You'll have to look up the reason why Elly called himself Batman. I don't think I can say that on air, but these guys are obviously great friends and they play better together. Elly straight up said he was praying for Matt McLain to be healthy. Said Matt McLain dove in a game a few weeks ago or like a week ago, the first game of the spring, and Elly held his breath. Yeah. Personally, I put McLain as the second biggest part of the lineup after Elly.
I agree.
He put up a really good rookie year. I guess, where do you think he fits in the group? Where do you see him playing? And what kind of stat line do you see?
Yeah. So obviously McLain's going to fit in. I agree with you right behind Elly. He's probably one of our more important pieces when it comes to the infield and our lineup. I think he will hopefully stay healthy, obviously, very important. But my stat lines, I have him 260 batting average, 342, 463. And then going over to the individual stats of the home runs, I have him at 25 home runs, 78 RBIs, 20 stolen bases. And I think he'll strike out around 150. Hopefully 140 to 150 in that range is what I'm thinking, but just round it off to 150.
Well, I guess I had to look up the stats there really quick because you've got Matt McLain regressing. I know he hasn't played in a year. I know. But you've got him.
It's a long time.
I'm a little stronger on Matty Mac. I got the Matty muscles, Matty bicep.
There still aren't bad stats that I gave him. I just think with him being off for a year, I just think he's gonna it's gonna be a slow start. I hope he proves me wrong, but I think it will be probably a slow start to the season for him, and I hope he kind of digs in and figures out second half of the season. And that's when he's gonna get hot.
Sure, I I think he's playing an all-star level right off the gate. And so actually, you know what's funny, because I say all this, but our stats are pretty similar, I think. I've got him about 20 points higher in the OPS. I've got McLain at 290, 350, 475. So I've got him with 25 home runs, 100 RBIs. Speaking of home runs, Mookie Betts just took Carson Spires deep. 20 stolen bases. I think he could go more than that, but I worry about with injuries and stuff that they're going to send him. Surprising stat for me on this guy. I'm going 135 OPS plus. I think he makes it being one of the better second basemen in the league. And I say second baseman. I know later on talk about different guys playing third, and McLain's a guy they talk about slotting into third and getting him some outfield work. We'll step into it later, but this is all assuming that was all assuming Spencer Steer was healthy.
Right.
Spencer Steer's not healthy. He had a cortisol shot 2 days ago.
Yeah, have we gotten any news on injury time frame? I haven't seen anything about.
No, they said he's day to day, so he's feeling better. They're not trying to rush it. But I think McLain slots as an everyday second baseman. Obviously, him and Elly are kind of the dynamic duo up the middle. Almost reminds me of a Brandon Phillips, Zach Cozart type of look.
BP, baby.
BP4, man. I remember I got a Twitter account just to sign up for his giveaways.
That dude is the coldest infielder I've ever seen in my lifetime.
Yeah. No, he's insane. We got everybody else now, really. I mean, I know we said, Matt McLain's he's a good player, and other than catchers, we got everybody else. So Jeimer Candelario had a pretty terrible year at the plate last year. That's pretty upfront. I personally feel for him, man. I feel for him because he was hurt. He played through it, which says a lot about a guy. And it says a lot about a guy that hit 16 home runs in the first half. He hit 20 home runs last year altogether. Wasn't productive. Only had 56 RBIs as a middle of the lineup 5 hitter all year long, 4 or 5 hitter. What are your projections for him? Where does he play? And what do you expect out of him?
Yeah. So my projections, 235, 301, and 412. I have him at 19 home runs, 65 RBIs, pretty similar to what he had last year. And then 4 stolen bases. I have him hovering around 125 strikeouts. He should be our DH. He did miss the last 6 weeks of last season. He had a fractured, I think it was his big toe on his left foot, I believe. Mm-hmm. But switch hitter. I hope he can start off hot. But I probably have him as my DH and nothing more than that. Just throw him in the lineup and hopefully he hits better this year.
I kind of completely disagree with your take on Jeimer Candelario here. I know that Baseball Reference and some other stat sites aren't heavy on the guy with their projections. Here's the deal, though. He did have 16 home runs before he got hurt. He had a dreadful start to the year, only hit 215 in April and May. And by the end of the half, turned into a 760 OPS, far above league average hitter, despite only hitting 215 in April and May. He then got hurt, and he wasn't the same. I'll be leaning here. I'm basically going to copy his first half stat line, assuming he's hot and cold sometimes. And let's go 245, 300, 460. So 300 on base, 460 slugging. Keep him at a 760 OPS, again, above league average. And if he plays healthy a whole season, 25 homers, 80 RBIs. If you can't tell by now, to the listeners that are watching, I'm really bullish on the offense this year. I really think they're going to be good. There's a lot of RBIs on the board because there's going to be a lot of runs scored this year. I think this offense will be much better than it's getting credit for. I think a lot of these young guys are stepping up, and veterans are going to be healthy. As long as they're healthy, they'll produce. Jeimer also, his BABIP was 257 last year. So he had some unluckiness, and that should help him return to form as well. I also see him right now as their everyday third baseman, unless you look at Christian Encarnacion Strand to play there. I think they're going to switch out third and first. But from the word from Terry Francona, I don't know if he considers Strand that everyday third baseman. So I think Jeimer's there.
Really? I was thinking Lux would probably have a lot of time at third as well.
So the idea with Lux right now is that he's not going to be starting. He's going to be like the first guy off, like every day in the lineup, but like left, second, third, wherever he needs to be.
Kind of filling holes.
Yep. And so I just couldn't put him in that role. But
yeah, that's shocking to me. I feel like Lux would be such a good transition to third, like work with him. And I wouldn't say he's an everyday, but I feel like he would just do really well at third.
I don't know if Luck's like he's an India type player. We'll get into it. He's like an India type player with less pop. So
No, I agree, but our second and shortstop is covered. There's no way I think he's gonna play a lot of time in either of those positions. So either it's third or outfielder, like you said, kind of utility bench. But I feel like it would be a waste to not try him at third and see if it goes well, and maybe that becomes more of his like position with us at the Reds.
And I think you'll see that happen throughout the year. I think you're entirely right. I think you'll see him kind of play different positions, see where he fits into the Reds schedule or Reds lineup and how he hits. And that's going to be a big indicator, I think, for kind of where he fits into the team this year. I guess the compliment to Candelario is Christian Encarnacion Strand. Had a really, really disappointing 2024 after that walk-off home run in the second game of the season. It was revealed, though, that he was not healthy for most of the season. He had surgery on his wrist in July to repair a ligament, and that ended his season, right? Ended his year. It seems like he's back now, fully healthy. He hit a ball yesterday, 114 mile an hour off the bat. It was the hardest hit ball he's had in his career. I'd imagine a slash line of 270, 330, 500 is possible. I think he has some of the most raw power I've ever seen out of a guy. Give him 30 home runs. I think he has a chance to hit 30 this year. Give him 70 RBIs just because I'm not sure how many RBIs he's going to catch on the end of it. I'm trying to be a little bit low on the RBIs. I feel like I've been so high on everybody else. But so 30 home runs, I really do think is possible. And most importantly, he made a lot of soft contact last year. His average exit velo dropped by almost 2 miles an hour. I think he brings that back to over 90 and really just takes that step for sure.
Really? So I'm a little bit opposite of you. I think that the injury obviously is a big factor. I know he's looked good through spring training, but I'm a big believer on what you did last season. You're probably going to do similar. That's just me. It's kind of a prove me wrong stance on it. So my stat line, I have him at 255, 303 on base, 452 slugging. I have him at 17 home runs, 50 RBIs, 2 stolen bases, and then probably around 100 strikeouts. But obviously, I hope that the home runs are up. I hope the RBIs are up. I'm just kind of playing off him being injured last year. He did have a really down year and struggled. So I hope he proves me wrong. But for now, I'm going to kind of go more on the lower side of things for his stats.
I feel bad. I told you for Elly de la Cruz to, go stolen bases numbers. And I was looking over before we were prepping for the episode. I realized we went stolen base numbers on every player. So some of these get kind of funny towards the end.
Yeah, when they're like one stolen base for the year.
You got like one stolen. Yeah, the bulk merchants. Like
no worries, it's extra stat line for y'all if you care about stolen bases.
Yeah, for sure. Write that one down. Keep us to it. I guess so. That's the starters, right? That's the guys in the infield that are going to be starting, other than the catchers. We'll get to at the end. The next guy here is our first guy off the bench, assuming Lux is playing every day somewhere. This is your actual utility guy this year. As Santiago Espinal. Espinal had his worst offensive year of his career. He came hitting, he never hit a lot of home runs, but he hit solid for the Blue Jays. He really came on, though, over that last month of the year. He hit 350 combined in July and August. And he was really a big part of our offense later on in the season. Power-wise, too. I think he hit 7 home runs the last 2 months of the year. What do you think you expect from him this year? And do you see him continuing that trend, or do you see him kind of regressing towards that mean?
Yeah, so it's hard, especially with like utility players, because you're only kind of thrown into these situations when you're needed. So you're not sometimes playing every day. And I don't want to say you're not prepared. These guys train, they prepare, but it's different when you're out there day in, day out, getting your reps playing, or you're getting called for one at bat or to pinch run or to field for one day. Like, I feel like it might kind of throw everything off. So my stat lines, I have them at 253, 300 on base, 347 slugging, I have 5 home runs. I was kind of gearing closer to 10, but I'm going to start low. 20 RBIs. And then my favorite, the stolen base stat I threw on there. So 5 stolen bases. I have him around 30 strikeouts, but it's going back to we think he's going to be a utility player. Those stats, I mean, they can fluctuate quite a bit, being that utility role. He can play anywhere in the infield besides first base. So, I mean, he could be second, short, third if someone needs a day off, someone's hurt. But I think the stats are just so low just with him being a utility role this year.
You know what's funny is I think the OPS we're kind of putting together for him, you know, yours is like 650, mine's 670. I'll get to in a second. But that's a solid utility player for a team, man, that's trying to compete.
Yeah.
There are a lot of years the Reds have thrown a 670 guy out there starting every day of the week, you know. Before we get into Espinal, Marte just made a fielding error, and we're obviously not talking about Noelvi Marte today. That's been such a big disappointment for me. That's a guy that really needs to probably start an A-ball and go back to the basics. A guy that was so good before his PED suspension, came up to the major leagues, I think he hit 350 or whatever. He was hitting like crazy, and that's just really disappointing, man. I hope he figures it out. Just real quick, I saw the error, and I was like, man. But on Santiago Espinal, you know, I pretty much agree with your take. I think maybe he's a little bit better time of it. Like I said, I'm 260, 320, 350, 670 OPS. I'd put up 8 home runs, 30 RBIs. I think he produces a little bit more than you're giving him credit for. And I probably see him. He's the first guy off the bench grabbing at-bats. So I think probably about half the games of the season, he's the first guy off the bench.
I don't know, unless Lux is playing more of that utility bench role too.
100%, and I agree with you. But the problem is I don't know if Lux is going to be Lux might be starting most of the season, depending on who's hurt.
I know. So, I think it's going to be kind of a last couple days before opening day decision where we see everything kind of play out on that.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to see Steer hurt. That's the other. I kind of want.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah. So my stat on Espinal is 0.5 WAR. Last year was his first ever negative WAR season. I saw him come around at the end of the year. I really think he's going to put together at least a 0.5 and be a solid utility player to help us win games. Speaking of utility players to help us win games, our last position player here, again, not catcher-wise, we're including Gavin Lux in the infield discussion. I'm not sure he'll be there to start the year. We just talked about Spencer Steer might not be ready, and he's the talk of playing left field, which he might play every day in left field until Steer comes back, you know? So assuming he isn't playing in left field, he'll be splitting time at third, maybe second when he needs to give McLain a day off. Where do you think he plays, and what kinds of statistics do you think he puts up this season?
Yeah. So I agree with you. I kind of spoke about it earlier in the podcast that I think Lux actually would be a good fit for third if they spend time with him. We'll have to kind of just see how everything plays out with the Steer injury, where they try him, where he does well at in the outfield or infield. Stat lines, with him shifting around, we're not really sure if he's going to start utility. I mean, it's all up in the air, but for now I have him at 253. I think that's pretty close to his average through all of his seasons. He's been around a 250 hitter, 327 on base, 398 slugging. I have him for 12 home runs, around 50 RBIs, 6 stolen bases, and then around 100 strikeouts is my stat line. What are you thinking?
I think he fills a hole that Jonathan India left, man. But unfortunately, I don't think – first of all, I hope he plays a better second base than Jonathan India plays. And secondly, I don't think he puts up the same power stats that Jonathan India has in his career at times. Lux hit 213 in the first half. Obviously, I think people know the deal between his first and second splits. In the second half, he hit 304 with a 900 OPS, just under. I'm actually almost exactly on the same stat line you are. If I could see Lux hit 250, 325, 400, which is a league average hitter, I'd be happy. I'd be very happy to have your everyday utility guy being league average. Not everybody can be above average on the lineup, and I'd be very happy with him to be average.
We just need consistency. That's the biggest thing this season.
100%. Just need I don't need this whole first half, second half crap, man, of like him not hitting in the first half, hitting 213, second half hitting 300.
Yeah.
That's not
Yeah,
going to play.
we can't start slow as a team this year. I feel like we need to start hot. We need players to be on their A game, as people say. Like we gotta. This is the season. We got to do it.
You can't, exactly right. You can't be going into August thinking we need to make up ground. We need to be in the lead in August going, okay, let's 100%.
Right, we have breathing room.
So that's it for infield. We have catchers now. Obviously 2 catchers on the projected opening day roster. Tyler Stephenson, who really turned it on last year, looked like he finally figured it out as a hitter. He figured it out in 22 and then lost it for a couple years, or a year and a half at least. Posted his best or second best full season of hitting, and is another one of these guys who's key to our playoff chances, in my opinion. He had an 815 OPS second half last year. Does he keep that rolling, or again, do you see a little bit of regression and kind of regress towards the mean in Tyler and maybe back towards kind of career statistics there for you?
Yeah, so I see a little bit of a regression. Same thing goes back to, so I don't like to overcompensate on my projections. I kind of expect the worst, pray for the best. I have him at 263 average, 338 on base, 424 slugging, so a little below 800 OPS, 16 home runs, 63 RBIs, and for the big stat, 1 stolen base. Not much of a base stealer, but I think he averages, 1 every season. I'm pretty sure it's like 1 a season or something. I think he had 2 one time.
I think it's funny, but
yeah. So I think Tyler would be our main guy, though. I know we have Trevino. That was a new acquisition over the season. Trevino has great defense. We're going to get into that next, but I think Tyler's going to be our everyday guy, and then have Trevino kind of come in and out when we need him.
Yeah, I agree with kind of where you're going with that. And I think, I don't know, man. I think Tyler Stephenson, second half Tyler is more like him. I put him at a really respectable 350 on base, 440 slugging, 270 average, 790 OPS, or 780 rather. Nope, 790. That's right. My writing's wrong. I think this is the year he breaks 20 home runs as well. I think he's more like that second half player, because in 22 he hit 280 and he had an 860 OPS. I mean, he's been a really good hitter in his career. And then he lost it bad. And he was every time he hit double play. It was like every time he came up as a routine double play.
Yeah.
I think he figured it out again, though. And we need him to be Tyler Stephenson from 2022 to have a solid catcher group, because we still don't have a great backup catcher in Jose Trevino, and he's a totally respectable backup catcher and
great defense.
Right, and that's what we're getting into here, is that he had the worst offensive career last year, or year of his career last year. He's never really been known as a great hitter, but what I want to point out is here's what he is, though, man. He's such an upgrade over Luke Maile. Such an upgrade. No offense to Luke Maile. I think he's a Cincinnati, maybe Northern Kentucky guy, if I remember them talking about it. Love Luke. Maybe he's a Kentucky guy for sure, Luke Maile. But here's what he is. Luke Maile is not a hitter. And he really wasn't a fielder either. And it was, I got to respect him. The man hitting 130, just not going to get it done. I don't expect Trevino to get to 300 or 260, or I expect him to be, last year he hit 215. But I hope he get closer to 220, maintain a little bit of an OPP to 300. Slug at 350. I don't care. Just get on base, man. Just get on base. 650 OPS. Solid backup play. That's what we talked about. 650, 670 OPS. The guy that plays. That's a guy that I'm okay with on the team. Just be a solid player. Don't be a detriment to the team. And as a backup catcher, and we're happy, and we're gonna help. He's gonna help us win ball games.
Yeah. My stat line, I have him 229 average. I hope he gets closer to that 230. That's wishful thinking. 280 on base, 344 slugging. I have him with 6 home runs, 27 RBIs, 1 stolen base, and around 40 strikeouts. Former All-Star. He is great, has great defense. I have seen that he does very well with working with pitchers. I hope Tito uses that. They can build some chemistry. But like you said, I think he's going to be kind of a coming in when Stephenson needs a break, maybe injuries, day off, whatever it might be. Obviously, Tyler's our guy. So as long as Trevino can't or as long as he doesn't make mistakes, helps us win games, he's an upgrade from Elly, obviously. So
I think, like you said, as long as he doesn't make mistakes, help us win games. And if that's on defense, it's on defense. And the days that Stephenson has off, Stephenson's DHing those days. But just having a good player, man, that we can rely on that's not going to have issues that we're pinch hitting for.
Right. When Stephenson out, you're like, oh, yeah, the catcher position's screwed today. Like, we didn't want to, like, have to think about that.
And at an 8 spot in the lineup, man, just be productive out. If he doesn't strike out a lot. And so just productive out. Just put the ball in play. Let it, just help the team. That's all I ask for from the bench guys. That's why, really want to drill in, man. We just hope these bench guys help the team.
Just be consistent. It's back to it. I'm about to get a poster that just says "Be consistent."
Be consistent. Just a photo of Joey Votto on the wall, just like a man. But that's the infield. So that's gonna wrap up this episode of Reds Access. Obviously, next week we're gonna jump into the outfield. That'll be our last position group. That is also next would be the 11th. That gives us 2 more episodes before opening day. So we will go over a last time projection for the season and the lineups and rotations, kind of go over that. We're looking at fully, just kind of really recap that. And then we're jumping into the season. We'll preview opening day. We'll preview the opening day series, do a big season kickoff there. And guys, we're rolling then. Mention on Facebook and Twitter before we get off here, I will start doing a season or a weekly recap starting next week. That will be touching on games that have been played, stat lines, that kind of stuff. Just a new weekly show on the channel. Expect 2 a week then with that in mind. But that's going to wrap it up, guys. So big thanks for tuning in. Kyler and I, of course, will be back soon for more breakdowns, hot takes, everything you know about our Cincinnati Reds. Be sure to follow, subscribe, and continue the conversation with us here on social media. We've had a couple followers last few days on TikTok, Twitter, definitely looking to grow that. But we're really appreciative for the support, guys, and the continual growth here we've seen. Rounding third, I messed that up. Rounding third and headed for home, though, guys. For Kyler, Osterberger, and myself, as always,
go Reds, baby.
Go Reds.